Alright, so this is going to be a walkthrough and review of Raptor that you presumably learned last year. If you are one of the people that were not here last year, then this will be your crash course, for lack of a better term, for using Raptor. Alright, so over here to the left, we have our symbols. We have the assignment symbol, the call symbol, the input symbol, the output symbol, the selection symbol, and the loop symbol. Assignment is generally used to declare a variable or initialize a variable. What's the difference in those? Well, if you declare a variable, you just say, okay, I'm going to make this variable, but you don't really give it a value. But in contrast, whenever you initialize a variable, you actually say, hey, I'm going to use this variable, and you give it a value. The call symbol is used to call methods or to run functions inside of your programs. The input symbol is to prompt the user for information and then to store whatever information the user gives you inside of a variable. The output symbol is used to put out to the console any information you want the user to see, any answers that are calculated, or even any variables that you want to display. You don't have to display a solid string, you can display a variable. Selection is used to make choices. If something's true, then you do this. If it's not true, then you do that. Selection is exactly like, a loop is like a selection. The difference is, instead of doing independent trees, if something answers to yes or no, you can set it to where it actually will loop around and repeat a certain amount of times that you decide. Alright, so let's make a short demonstration on this. Save now. I usually ask you this when you start making changes. I'm just going to make a very simple program. So we're going to make two assignments. We're going to take two variables. First one will be num1, first number, set it equal to 4. Second one, let's make a variable called num2, set it equal to 10. And we can make an expression inside of this. Let's make a variable called answer, set it equal to num1 plus num2. And as you can see, autocomplete is down here. Whenever you start typing the name of a variable, or even a function call or class instantiation, you can do a lot of different things here. Everything shows up, but anytime you start to type something, you can automatically complete it there by going and selecting it, or you can use your arrow keys and select it and press enter, and it will complete it for you. Okay, over here to the left, you'll see this is, you can kind of think of it as the stack. You can see what variables are in play and see what their values are. So over here, let's go ahead and hit run, and we can see that we have a variable called num1. Its value is 4, and we have a variable num2, its value is 10. We have a variable called answer, its value is 14. And here the console has come up, and we didn't have anything output, so let's go ahead and make an output. Here we can say, let's output answer. Whatever the variable, whatever the value is inside of the variable answer, we're going to output that to the console. Over here on the stack, nothing changes, but we can see here that it has output that answer. Now, you don't need to do expressions inside of an assignment. You can use an output as well. Instead of outputting answer, we can simply output num1 plus num2, whatever that is. I want you to output that. And as you can see, it outputs the exact same answer. Now, for these static numbers, this is essentially useless. So instead of assigning these, let's get some input from the user. Now, inside of your prompt, you have to actually put a string here. And how we put strings is we use a set of double quotes. We encapsulate them with the string, whatever we want to say, inside of the quote. So let's say, please enter a number to add. And let's store whatever the person enters in num1. And we can say the same thing for the next one. We can copy this, and paste it, change this here to num2. So what's essentially going on here is we prompt the user and say, hey, please enter a number to add. And whatever they enter, we're going to store that information in the variable num1. Same thing here. Whatever they enter in this prompt, we're going to store it in the variable num2. Sorry about the noise in the background. I'm in the media center recording this, and these kids here are a little bit unwieldy, evidently. So let's go ahead and hit play. We see the prompt come up. Please enter a number to add. And remember, whatever we type here is going to be stored in the variable num1. So let's enter 100. We see that in num1 that value has been stored. And let's say for our second number we say 23. And everything works exactly the same, except it's now dynamic. We can change the value however we want. So now we're down to a call symbol. Well, what is a call? Well, you can go up here to your main function and right click. You can say add a subchart, and here you can make the name. So let's say add, let's say addition. And instead of putting everything here, you can imagine once you make this flowchart rather large, it's going to be confusing. So what you should do is, and what you actually have to do once we get into object-oriented programming, is move small tasks over to their own individual methods or subcharts. So inside of main here, instead of just putting all of our code there, we can say, hey, I want you to run everything that's in this. Okay, I want you to find the method addition and run the code there. And once it's finished running this code, it goes back to main. So it goes here, okay, over, it goes over to addition. Once it's finished, gets to end, goes back to main, and continues on. So if we hit play here, and another thing, if you're new to this, you can see that as you run these programs, it will highlight green as the program progresses. Let's say 2010 and 23 again. Adds up as 33. Okay. Sometimes this runs too fast on computers. Sometimes you won't actually see it highlight green, and that's why you have this step through button. You can just say, okay, go to the next step, go to the next step, okay, go to the next step. Okay, now I enter a number. Now the prompt comes up, 12. Okay, now I can step again, 13. Step through again, and every time you click it, it goes one step further. Alright, so that's calls. Alright, so let's make a new subchart and call this subtraction. Copy all of this. So we say, please enter a number for the first one, and then we say, please enter a number to be subtracted from the previous entry. And we have to change our expression. So here, now there's a couple of different ways you can do your selections, and I'm going to show them to you now. Let's move addition to the yes column, and over here for no, let's have subtraction. So let's get an input from the user to see what they want to do. Say, do you want to subtract choice here. So we're going to say, do you want to subtract, which they will enter 1, or add, which they will enter 2. Alright, so let's do our comparison. Let's say if user choice double equal, whenever we do any kind of comparisons, either in a selection or a loop, you check to see if things are true, do a double equal sign. Raptor will probably tell you that it's fine, but this is the way it is in most other programming languages. So any comparison you use, you're going to use a double equal sign. Okay? So if user choice equals, let's say, if it equals 2, we run the yes section. If it doesn't equal 2, we run the subtraction section. So if we run this, user choice, do you want to add or subtract? Let's try addition first. It goes to the yes column, enters that side, and there we go. Run it for subtraction. Let's say, do you want to subtract numbers? Let's say we enter 1. So the subtraction gets run. Alright, so what happens if we enter 3 for our choice? It still goes to subtraction, because the only thing it's checking is it equal to 2? If it's not equal to 2, it doesn't matter what you enter, it's going to go to subtraction. Ways around this, pretty simple. You can add another selection. If user choice is equal to 1, and this is just white space here, you don't have to do this, but it doesn't change anything, and it makes things more readable for me. Again, it's optional. So if user choice is equal to 1, then we run subtraction. If user choice is not equal to 1, or sorry, is not equal to 2, and is not equal to 1, then they have made an invalid selection. Your entry is invalid. You must enter a 1 or a 2. Okay? So that's how you use selections. Now, could we put yes or no? Yeah, absolutely. So let's say, do you want to subtract? Let's just delete this all. Let's do add first. Add 2 numbers. And we're going to store that in user choice. Copy this. Do you want to subtract 2 numbers? And instead of comparing this with 2, let's say we're going to say yes. And copy that to use again. So if user choice is yes, now it runs subtraction. If user choice is yes up here, it'll do addition. And you can see that we are resetting the variable user choice. Okay, here if it's no, it goes down here, and then we can override it. Remember, a variable is it varies. You can change it. That's why it's called a variable. Conversely, you have things called statics, which never change, but we won't be using them. Alright, so here's the problem with this. So let's hit play and let's try it the correct way first. I type yes. Notice how I type yes. Hit OK, it goes through the addition section. Okay, we know how that works. But what if I enter yes, all capital? It's no. The reason that it's no is because when it checks the string, it's case sensitive. Okay, it checks the cases as well, and if the case doesn't match, it returns a no. It returns false. It's not the same. Alright, now there's a way to fix this, but it's just not advisable. But it's a little bit extra work, but we'll go ahead and do it. Now what we can do in these conditionals is we can set multiple conditions. But one way to do this is we can use our ampersand, if I can find it on this keyboard. We can use a double ampersand, so it's still a comparison, so we use double when we do our evaluation symbols. Double. 2 ampersands, and we can say, well, if user choice is equal to yes, and user choice is equal to, let's say yes, but this will never be true. It can't be these two strings, okay? That's just an example of if you want to set multiple conditions that have to be true. 2 different things have to be true in order for it to return yes. Well, what if you want to say if this is true or this is true? Well, we use a double vertical line, 2 vertical lines. I think on the Spanish keyboards they're found next to the 1 key. Alright, and you can see I use 2 of them, okay? You can just put 1. Raptor may or may not tell you it's correct. I've never tried it because I do things the right way. Well, except when I'm typing, evidently, because I can't find the key again. What? How did I just have it and then immediately lose it? There we go. Stupid. Alright. So again, I use 2 vertical lines here. I'm sorry, but I don't like these Spanish keyboards. It's new to me. I'm sure you guys feel the same way whenever you look down and there's an American keyboard in front of you. I know that one of the things that bothers people is trying to find the @ symbol. I mean, whatever. Alright, so if I can say if this is true or this is true, it will return true. But the thing about this is now you have to go in here and do this for every single possible combination of this. So I can say, well, what if it's a capital letter at the beginning? If it's any of these, it's going to return true. So what I find is, although it looks like it's back in the DOS-OX days, is just give the user a choice of what to answer. Imagine your grandmother or your great-grandmother's in front of the computer, and she doesn't know how to answer. Okay, for user friendliness, you need to do that anyway. You need to give them the option of what they need to actually enter. Be as descriptive as possible. Alright, so if any of these are true, I run addition. If any of those are not true, it's going to return no. Okay. Alright, so that is multiple conditions. Let's go down here and change this as well. The next thing we have, next things that we have are loops. Now, what are loops? Loops are things that you do to make things run a certain amount of time, or a certain number of times, I should say. Okay, so let's say inside of addition, and let's change this to this. Okay, do you want to add numbers? Do you want to subtract numbers? We don't say how many numbers. Let's just go inside of addition and make a loop. We're going to ask the user how many numbers they want to add. How many numbers do you wish to add together? And let's store this as, let's not say numbers. Let's just say number of entries. And I discussed this in class a little bit, but whenever you make variables, you're going to have the first letter lowercase, and every subsequent word a a capital letter. So you can easily look at this and see that these are different words. Conversely, whenever you make a method / function, you're going to have all capitals on every word. I mean, not all caps throughout the entry, but just the beginning of each word, the first letter will be a capital. Alright? That's called camel case, because it has humps, like a camel. Alright, so we look at this and say, well, how many entries does he want to add? And so we have to at first make another thing, and this is going to be a count. Okay, we're going to make this variable called count, and what count is it's going to count how many times the loop has run. Okay, we're just going to declare it. We're not going to initialize it to anything. We're just going to, well, technically we are. We're setting it equal to 0, but anyway. So this is going to count how many times this loop runs. Okay, so we're going to say whenever count is equal to the number of entries, we exit the loop. Alright, so if how many times I've run the loop equals how many times I wanted to run the loop, I'm finished. Okay. So let's grab our addition and put it under no. So, okay, let's see. We're going to replace answer 1, answer 2. We could say what number do we want to add, for example. Let's say here we're going to change this. Let's just say answer. Answer is going to be equal to 0. We haven't added any numbers yet. So please enter a number to add. We're going to store this as num1. And here we're going to say that answer is equal to whatever answer was before plus whatever the user entered. Okay, so it goes through and says, okay, let's say I enter 3. I want to add 3 numbers. And it says, okay, so I'm going to make this variable answer. Right now it's 0 because I haven't added any numbers yet. Count is going to be 0 because I haven't done the loop yet. So it goes to the loop. And it says, okay, is 0 equal to 3? Because I entered 3, I wanted to add 3 numbers together. No, it's not. So I go here. Please enter a number to add. Okay, and the user enters a number. Let's say he enters 3. Okay, so then we say answer is now equal to answer, whatever it was before, 0, plus whatever the person entered. So he entered 3, so now answer is equal to 3. And after we do that, we have to do an iteration. We have to say, well, now count is equal to whatever count was before plus 1. So we've ran this one time. So what was 0 now? Okay, well, count 0 is equal to count 0 plus 1. So now count is equal to 1. We go around. Is 1 equal to 3? No, it is not. So we go again. Please enter another number to add. Okay, we get the number. Alright, and you can see how it actually will work. Okay, and I think it might run 1 too many times. I think we'll probably have to put the count up here. Okay, so let's see if this works. Yes, I want to add numbers. How many numbers? I want to add 3. And remember, whenever you start having problems, you can look over here at the stack and see what is equal to what at what point. If something's not correct, you can figure it out. Okay. Alright, let's say I want to add 10 as my first number, 12 as my second number, and 13 as my third number. Oh yeah, so I was right the first time. Let's try it again. Yeah, let's add some numbers. Add 3 numbers together. 12, 10, and 13. Now we exit, and it goes to the rest, which I haven't deleted yet. I need to delete that stuff. Okay, so if you look at this logically, if you're having trouble when watching this video kind of putting it together logically, stop it and look at the logic. Look at the flow of the information, and just take out some paper and write down what you are coming up with. Okay, each step. Okay, count goes up 1. Okay, answer is now set to this. Okay, answer is now set to this, and count goes up another. And you'll figure out the logic that goes inside of this. Okay, what I just changed was, well, I'm going to need to output whatever answer is. Okay, after it goes through here, answer will accumulate as it goes. Once it goes out, we're going to output whatever the answer is. Okay. Now I can go inside and set this up with subtraction, but I don't really need to. You can figure it out from just the addition one. In Raptor, for you new guys, you can set your zoom level here so you can get a better look at all of the logic. And once we go into object-oriented mode, you're going to have to go up here to mode and switch it from novice to object-oriented. You can see here it looks pretty much the same. It has this new tab, which we'll get into in class. Alright, so this is your reintroduction to Raptor. I hope you, I don't know, remember this stuff now. The logic, you either have it or you don't, but that's what all of these symbols do, so you don't have to figure out, oh wait, how do I do this? Okay? Alright, have a good day.